Fantasy footy fans, welcome back to GameDay Squad's YouTube channel. We are so excited for 2024. Aussie Rules is coming up, and I am joined today by my good friend, Kerm. Mate, welcome back to this channel. Are you excited to get into today's recording?
Mate, as excited as ever. Came off a good season last year, finishing 7th in the Open competition. I'm going to be going down to the Classic competition this year just for a new challenge, try something new. And I'm so excited to get stuck in. I think I've changed my Classic team around about 4 or 5 times already this preseason, so keen to get stuck in.
Yeah, 100%, and likewise, mate. I am super pumped. I can't wait for this season. But I wanted to bring you on today to talk about some rankings. We're today going to go through our 2024 GameDay Squad rankings for the Aussie Rules. And of course, we're GameDay Squad. We're going to put our Dynasty hats on, but Kerm, I will let you know, with my rankings, I definitely gave strong consideration into win now. So I didn't just put all the young boys at the top. I wanted it to be a good mix of young stars of the game, but also players you should be targeting who are a bit older, who are going to help you in the immediate.
I like it. I like the little warning, the precursor you've put before we get into the rankings so we don't flame you too hard. But no, I'm keen to start. Everyone loves rankings. Fantasy and rankings are just like a happy marriage. So I'm keen to get stuck in.
They are truly meant to be. So why don't we stop fluffing around? Let's get right into it. What we're going to do, we haven't seen each other's rankings yet, but we're going to reveal, start from the bottom. We're going to go 20 to 15, 14 to 10, so on and so forth until we get to our top fives. Let's talk through some players. I'm excited. Kerm, let's do the reveal right now. I'm going to see your 20 to 15. Oof. You're going to see mine for the first time, and let's talk about some of the players. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right, here we are now. Let me have a quick look.
Dude.
Okay.
Do you want me to explain myself first?
Go for it.
So the big name in this section for me, everyone will be thinking, Clayton Oliver averaged 134 points per game last season in 2023. Yep. He's been a fantasy MVP for as long as we've known him pretty much in the AFL, and the Demons are flying. Why is he ranked number 18? And to be honest, I'm just scared. Every time you open up the AFL.com fantasy app, or you look on the news, you look on Facebook groups, you see something else has gone wrong with Clayton Oliver this preseason, whether it be some off-field antics, which we won't discuss, or some niggling injuries. And we even saw some niggling injuries throughout the 2023 season, which put him on the pine for a while, and there were question marks about his training ethic and all this sort of thing, all these sort of, intangible problems. And you know what, I looked at these rankings and I thought, if I'm going to be sticking players in, week out, Clayton Oliver's probably going to be in the discussion most weeks, if not every week. But if we're looking at a season-long outlook, which we're doing here in these rankings, I'm just not sure I feel comfortable putting him anywhere above where he is right now. And he's in the area of some really good players. We're talking Darcy Parish, Josh Dunkley, who I expect to go up another notch this season at the Brisbane Lions. Chad Warner and Adam Chera, some young guys that should just absolutely rocket in their fantasy output. So it's not like he's out of the equation entirely. I'm just scared of the off-field issues at the moment. And I'm more than happy to be proven wrong, because Clayton Oliver, when he's fit, when he's firing, when his head's in the right space, is an absolute fantasy jet. And if anyone's going to turn this list upside down, it's him. So, yeah.
Spicy. Well, I might add off the back of that, I actually didn't include Clayton Oliver in my rankings at all. I am very scared about this situation, but I want to talk off the back what you said, because I think it's spot on. If Clayton Oliver plays at his best, he's a top 5 lock in my eyes. Yeah. I just am not certain that we're going to see the best of Clayton Oliver in 2024. Long term, could he come back? Maybe he gets who knows what happens with his situation right now, but
that's the thing.
He could be a star again in the game, but for this list, for me, I've left him out, which could be controversial. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Kerm had him at, 18?
Yeah.
I don't have him in my top 20. Where do you have him in your rankings?
Yeah. And it's those words you said, isn't it? It's who knows. And if anybody thinks they know, they don't know unless you're like his mother or something. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how this season plays out for him.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Well, mate, I might talk about a player that's in my list.
Please
this is a
do.
player that before we've spoken about as being top 5, or at least I know I have on camera, and I've completely done a 180 here. I've gone Sam Walsh and I've ranked him at number 19, which some people might feel, that's a little bit controversial. I can feel the navy blues at my neck right now. So I better explain and give a good reason why, Kerm, because I can feel the heat. It's going to be hot in this room.
I'm going to mute my mic and let you cook right now.
All right, well, again, I think similar to what you said, this is one that could come back to bite me 100%. And it's probably more likely than Clayton Oliver for you. So you might be feeling a little bit more comfortable now after hearing that I had Sam Walsh at 19. But is he going to be a dynasty option? Yes. I think he's going to be a great dynasty player. Is he going to be an option or a card that people want in GameDay Squad? 100%. But with me, and as I said in this list, I've given great consideration into sort of like a win now mindset as well as being dynasty. I see his production coming later on. I just don't see it this year being the year where Sam Walsh becomes a superstar. Now, he's a great end-to-end mid, and if Carlton are going to be serious about getting their lids off and becoming the flaggers, as they like to say, then 2024, I see this being a season for Carlton that's full of great depth and utilising their abundance of ball winners that they have at the club. This list is deep. We got Cripper, Doherty, Chera, Newman, the list goes on. Plenty of ball winners, plenty of people who are going to use the footy. And just in my opinion, they're not going to want one person in particular to dominate. They're going to want to use a combination of their stars to crack the top 4, get to the top, and have a season that could be ending with them being the flaggers. So it's just their list for me. It's nothing personal against Walsh. I think he's going to be a superstar in the near future. I just don't think 2024 is going to be the year where we see Walsh feature in a lot of people's top 6. Because this year in GameDay Squad, we got 6 scoring mids. There we go. Oof. Had to get that off the chest.
I just don't know. I just don't know where this has come from. I think he's already a superstar. I genuinely do, and I've got him on this list somewhere. I won't disclose where I put him on this list yet.
Okay. Oh, spicy.
Yeah. And I guess as a bit of like a teaser for everyone on this episode, he is on my list, but I'm not going to disclose how high up he is. So I'm keen to go on to that and talk about him in my little part later on in the video. I might be waiting a little while, but yeah, I understand your points, and I understand that there's a lot of ball to be won in this Carlton side this year, and there's a lot of talented people. I just think, it's a little bit blasphemous in the fantasy community right now to have him at as low as you have him, and I like it, to be honest. I like it from you. It shows a little bit of balls, so yeah.
Mate, the problem with this is there are so many good players, but you have to be really cutthroat with these lists.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's going to be players people think you snub. There's going to be players people think you ranked way too highly. Let's get into it. I think that sets our nice 20 to 15 right. We've gone into a player each. Now, or 20 to 16. Now we're going to reveal our 15 and so forth. All right, are you ready? I want to see yours. You're going to see mine. Let's do it.
Jesus.
Wow.
Okay, you've got to talk about him. It's the name that stands out like giant balls. John Newcombe at 13. Tell me why. Tell me why you've got John Newcombe at 13. I'm really interested to hear this.
Okay. Just for context, John Newcombe has the lowest fantasy average in my team, or out of this list. So if you go back to 2023, you look at all of the fantasy averages for the players, he has the lowest. John Newcombe last year, 108.2 fantasy average per game, 22 years old, still a young gun. My reason is that, so as I mentioned, his average last year, but the most impressive feat of them all was the record that he actually did break, and that was for the most broken tackles in an AFL season ever. Goes a little bit unnoticed, but yeah, John Newcombe breaks a record at 22 years old that's been standing for forever, it seems like. Now, last year, just for me, he's in a horrible situation to say the least. Hawthorn had issues all around the ground. But that one thing was apparent. John Newcombe was clearly the second best player on the Hawthorn team, and that's behind their captain, James Sicily, which I think everyone would agree on. But the great news for Newcombe is that in regards to him being compared to Sicily, is that Sicily's a defender. That means this midfield is John Newcombe's to own. And for me, that's not going to change anytime soon. So Hawthorn, unless they do something drastic like trade him away, he's got this midfield locked down for the foreseeable future. Now, his stats aren't eye-popping, but if you just watch John Newcombe play, in my personal opinion, he passes all the eye tests and more. They've got some new acquisitions at Hawthorn and an extra year of experience for their young guns. 2024 and beyond could be John Newcombe's best season yet, and it could be time for him to take the leap. Mid-season draft pick a couple of years ago, exploded onto the scene. What is his potential? I'm not sure, but I think it's a lot more than what we saw in 2023. And again, these are Dynasty rankings. This is a card I want in my club for the foreseeable future. Because again, it might not be this year where he's in your top fives and a set and forget, but I see it coming. He's going to blow the league wide open one day and he'll be a top 5 player. So that's why, where did I have him? Number 13th ranked player, John Newcombe. Big call, for sure.
It is a big call, but again, like Sammy Walsh, I like it. You're showing the size of your trousers at the moment, and I hear what you say. I hear what you say about his age. I hear what you say about his role within the team. He's going to be the engine room guy for years and years to come. It seems as though, at the moment anyway.
Yeah.
I have some question marks around this midfield and what it actually looks like when we start the 2024 season, whether Will Day is actually going to be, he's tipped to be a serious midfielder this year for the Hawthorn Footy Club. So I'm really interested to see if he has that role. You know, you got guys like Josh Ward, Nash, Connor McDonald even, who's a forward in GameDay Squad. He's actually someone I'm really interested in for my team this year. You've also got Carl Amon, who might be, whether he's going to be a half-back flanker or whether he's going to be on the wing, should get some ball in his hands this year. There's just a lot of there or thereabouts players for me at Hawthorn who could break out and take that role. And if Newcombe dips in that form at all, I think players like Will Day or particularly Josh Ward, who I think is a player that we should be talking about a lot more this pre-season as a point of difference player who could break out and be a serious player for people. I'm just interested to see how it plays out for this Hawthorn midfield, because it's exciting. There's no denying that there's excitement around it. There's just a lot of raw players there that could become something serious this year, and I'm interested to see who it might be.
Couldn't agree more, but I think it does play into my point a little bit. Hawthorn are trying to do the right things.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't have a great season last year, but they're trying to improve their team. They're going to improve their team from last year at least, just with experience alone. But yeah, I get your points as well. Maybe it's not John Newcombe. Maybe it's Will Day. You know, we loved him last year on the show. But Kerm, I want to ask you about a particular player that you've ranked on your list, and that player is going to be your number 14th ranked, Luke Davies-Uniacke, mate. Do you want to give me some insight into why he's at 14th for you? I'm interested to hear this one for sure.
I struggled not to make him a top 10 player, to be honest. I've gone over this list a few times, I can't lie, and there were times where he was quite high up and I just didn't have the guts to sit here and back it up. But LDU is a player for me who we're not talking about enough. We're talking about a guy who's 24 years old going into the season, who's coming off a season where he's averaged 27.4 disposals, 12.5 of those were kicks, 6.7 clearances, and 115 odd GDS fantasy average to go with it. I just don't see how LDU regresses. I think he's going to have more top 6, top 7 finishes than not this year, week to week. And the chat around, you know, the younger guys like George Wardlaw, you got Colby McCutcheon, the rookie, you've got Bailey Scott, who was playing off halfback but can run through the midfield as well. Jai Simpkin, I know there are players around LDU that are going to impact but I just think he remains that inside bull who's going to extract the ball at the stoppage and hand the ball off to players like those Colby McKerches who we're all excited about. I just don't want LDU to lose his shine because there are new other, cool little midfielder assets that North Melbourne have on the sidelines ready to go that we're all excited about. Just don't lose focus on the fact that LDU is going to be an absolute superstar in this league. So I'm really excited by him this year. I'm trying to get all the stock I can in LDU because I think he, again, is going to be a top tier midfielder in this league, and it might just be 2024 where he breaks that top 10, top 5 sort of area.
Love it, man. LDU, player who's been on the cusp of making, the top 10s for a long time, it seems. Could this be the year? That's pretty spicy. And before we move on, I know all of you are thinking it. We got the Suns fan with us, Liam Kermode. Both of us have Noah Anderson ranked at number 15 on the dot each. That, first of all, surprises me because it means if you're the Suns fan, if I maybe dipped a little bit too low for Noah Anderson, because usually, you would have the Suns goggles on, but how do you feel about that? It's just dimmer.
And his history with the Richmond Footy Club and their fantasy output in recent years, you've only got to look at how Trent Cotchin was as a fantasy football asset. He was there and thereabouts, but he was never pushing those top 5, top 10 areas. And I think Noah is a supremely talented footballer, and I've got him here, as you say, at 15. Because of that, I think his talent will reign supreme at the end of the day, but it's just his history dimmer with fantasy. He's got a lot of on-field success, there's no denying that, but as purely fantasy, he just hasn't had the teams, push that fantasy envelope. And, I think I'm a lot lower on players like Sammy Flanders, for example. Touk Miller, for example, who's getting some more love this preseason off the back of an injury-riddled 2023. I'm a lot lower on those than a lot of other people are, and it's purely because of that dimmer history. And until I see it, I hope I'm wrong, because God, I would love to see Noah Anderson push that top 5 area, because I think one day he has the ability to do it. It's just not right now, and it would be unwise to think otherwise at the moment.
Fair call, but in saying that, 22 years old, 118.9 fantasy average last year. You just spoke about the Suns, the history, new coach coming in. Last year's couple key averages, 16 kicks, 10 handballs, 4.5 marks. All around the ground mid, has, as you said, the potential to become a superstar. So as, it sort of feels like his back's on the wall a little bit, but he's still able to crack both of our top 20s, sitting at 15. I think that goes to show, first of all, as you said, the stardom potential that he does have, and just the overall talent that he possesses, because there's not many players that could be in a situation like that and still get ranked so highly.
No, exactly. And as you said, there's a testament to him as a player. And I hope he proves us wrong. I hope he's climbing up this list, because I would love to see him up in that, conversation this time next year when we're talking about him as a top 10 mid instead of a top 15.
Alrighty. I agree, but it's time to move on. We've got to get into our top 10s. Here we go.
The business end of the list.
Let's
start to question myself now.
Going to see yours. You're going to see mine for the first time. 3, 2, and 1.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Very similar here in this little area.
Yeah. Wow. It's very much so. That's funny, because I just had Zach Butters at 12, so he nearly made this group of 5 as well, and it would have been nearly the same. That's crazy.
All right, let's get stuck in.
100%. Mate, I want to get insight into someone here that you have, and it's Zach Merrett. Just for context, 28 years old, 131 GameDay Squad average last season in 2023. Was made the All-Stars squad, as we saw. The cards came out. There are a couple on the transfer market. They look beautiful. Maybe you want one for your team, but Kerm, you have him here sitting at number 9, just made your top 10. Do you want to talk about how he made it here. What season do you see for him coming up?
I see much of the same. So he finished overall in GameDay Squad rankings 7th amongst all positions and I think 4th amongst midfielders. So I see a little bit of a dip based on where I have him right now, and it's less about him as a footy player and his role within the Essendon side, but more about the guys like your Ben Hobbs, your Perkins, your Parrish, who I had at 17. Again, just lots and lots and lots of talent who Essendon are going to want to see run through this midfield to see what they've got. And I don't necessarily think it hinders Zach Merrett that much. I don't think we see too much of a dip, but amongst these other players, I've got Zach Butters ahead of him, who I just love the upside of, Caleb Serong, who's coming off his best fantasy season, and I can only see progression on his end. Jordan Dawson, who I think, again, like Luke Davies-Uniacke, isn't getting enough love as he should be getting. It's very rare you find someone who's going to get more kicks to handballs, let alone a discrepancy like 17.5 to 9.7 handballs. 17.5 kicks to 9.7 handballs he had last year, which is absolutely insane for a midfielder, especially in GDS where kicks are awarded 4 points.
Yeah.
So he's in, the company that I've put him in is just, it's good stuff to be involved, and I don't see much regression from him at all. It's just a lot of players around him who aren't scaring me, but I should expect, and I think most people should expect, a little bit of a dip on his 131 2023 GDS average.
Fair enough. And mate, you're totally right. Like, again, it's a dynasty list, so you're going to have players who have a higher average from 2023 on top of players who maybe had a lower average. It just is what it is. But mate, Jordan Dawson, interesting one there. Had 133.5 average last year, 26 years old. So a little bit older than the younger guns, but gosh, that fantasy potential, what we saw from last year was tasty, and would have him top 5. Would have made the All-Star squad, even as a midfielder, which I think is pretty insane to think about as a defender last year. So what a year he had.
He is so good. He is such a good footballer, so fun to watch. And I can only see Adelaide improving as a side as well. And I think with that, Jordan Dawson elevates his own game. And I can't see his role changing. Playing all around the ground, he'll drop back into halfback when needed. He's obviously going to play a lot of midfield time. His teammate Rory Laird, I think we'll see some improvement from him as well. But as I alluded to earlier, that kick to handball ratio is so rare to find within a midfielder. And GameDay Squad awards 4 points per kick. And that can just take you such a long way, as we saw last year. So he's a player who I've got cemented in my side right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that, man. I want to touch on one player in particular that I have in this 5. It's going to be Caleb Serong for me.
Yes.
22 years old. People would say, and I think a lot of people in the fantasy community would say, that he's the best Robin to Freo's Batman, being Andrew Brayshaw. The thing for me is that I think he's barely a Robin. What we're seeing here, this is like a Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant tandem.
I love that.
They are both insanely good at playing. As you can see, Andrew Brayshaw is a little bit higher on my list, but I don't think Caleb Serong truly gets the credit that he deserves for how good he is on the field. Now, last year's numbers, as you mentioned, 15 kicks a game, 15 handballs a game, 5 tackles. And in my eyes, 2023, we just saw the birth of a superstar in GameDay Squad. He isn't quite there yet, but I am confident in saying this, that in 2 to 3 years' time, he is going to be a top 5 midfielder in fantasy, and that's a lock. Just my question is, but I have one other side point for this, is my question for that statement is, will that be at Freo, or could that be somewhere else? I see something in the near future drastically changing, but for me, Caleb Serong in a couple of years' time will be a lock fantasy midfielder in your GameDay Squad side. I think his potential is untapped, and he is just insane.
He is, and that's the word to describe him, insane. I love the Kobe to Shaq reference there, because it's just so true. We came into this time last year, we were talking about this midfield outlook, and it was just Andy Brayshaw, Andy Brayshaw, Andy Brayshaw. And again, testament to the player. Caleb Serong comes in this season. He's announced himself. He's amongst players on this list, like Zach Merrett, like we just spoke about, Jordan Dawson, his teammate Andy Brayshaw. Like, these are some serious names. And honestly, to me, it took me longer to realise, I think, than most people, that this guy's churning out numbers at a consistent clip that anybody would be happy with in this league. To average 30 odd in this midfield, and then we got a lot of rumours coming into this season about Frio's midfield. The only two we are sure about at the moment is Serong and Andy Brayshaw, because you just can't take them out. But who's going to be that third linchpin? Is it going to be Hayden Young, who seems to be the odds-on favourite to be that player? I just, again, like the other players we've spoken about, don't really see how he regresses this year too much to the point where he becomes irrelevant. So if he holds on to this form and makes it his own, you're right, he deserves to be in this ranking slot.
It's a great point. Andrew Brayshaw, I think he finished 2023 super strong from memory. He had a lot of ton-up games right at the end and brought that average right up. But there was a good portion of the season where Serong had a higher average than Andy Brayshaw. I think that's just went a little bit under the radar. People are just like, not really talking about it. And again, giving the credit I think that Serong deserves, because stellar 2023, and that could only just be the start of what we can see for him in the near future. But Kerm, I think it's time. I want to see your top fives. I know you want to see mine. I want to see where your players are placed. I'm interested to see.
There's a name that hasn't been brought up yet. We are.
Let's flick it over. 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
Okay.
Damn.
Yep. All right.
I love it, but it's different and it's good. I like that it's different.
This is why rankings are just the best in Aussie Rules fantasy, or any fantasy for that matter. Clearly we got to talk about Walshy here, right? Straight
Go
off
on,
the rip.
because I had Walsh at 19.
Yeah.
You've got Walsh at number 3 for your 2024 Dynasty GameDay Squad ranks. Kerm, take it away, mate. Tell everyone why I was wrong and that you're going to be right. I can't wait to do this.
This is, polar opposites here. And again, this wasn't planned or anything like that. But no, it's just, I do have an infatuation for this guy that might be a little bit concerning for most other people who aren't into fantasy football. So I do find I have to put a leash on it a little bit. But coming off the 2023 season, where he came into the season in the preseason, back surgery, a lot was happening, had a very, very, very bad run coming into the 2023 season, where he came in unfit, and Vossi put him up forward off the halfback flank. He's playing weird positions. His CBAs were down all year. But we saw in the final series just how damaging Sam Walsh can be for fantasy sports, for fantasy football, and for Carlton as a footy club as well. And you alluded to it before, everybody is expecting some form of success for Carlton this year, and I think if it's going to happen, Sam Walsh needs to play a big part in that. He's done it before. He almost won a Brownlow a couple of years ago. But the guy is just an absolute jet. But he had his lowest time on ground percentage last year. I think it was only 78%, which was down from 83% in 2022 and 87% in 2021. I just cannot see how Sam Walsh doesn't find at least some form coming into this 2024 season, where I can only see his time on ground and centre bounce attendances absolutely skyrocket through the roof. And anyone would be thinking we're talking about a guy, where you had him ranked 19, where, he's averaging low 20s, he looked nothing like himself, and I'm getting that vibe from some people, but the guy averaged 28.5 disposals last year with a semi-broken back, playing half-forward flank. It's just unreal. It is just unreal. He is still 11 years old. I think he's 23 years old still. It feels like he's been in the league for the last decade. We're still going to get, if there's any knock I have on Sam Walsh, we're still going to get that negative handball to kick ratio. There's still going to be more handballs than kicks. But I think that's just part and parcel of the player that he is. And I honestly, I think Tom Green deserves to be a unanimous number one ranking right now. That's where I have him, and I think that's where most people in the community have Tom Green right now. But I think if anybody's going to challenge him for that king seat, it is going to be Sam Walsh. And I am so excited to watch Walshy play footy this year with a good preseason under his belt. Knock on all the wood you've got, that there are no setbacks going into these preseason games, because footy's better when Sam Walsh is flying, and fantasy footy is even better for that matter. So super excited to see how he goes this year, and we might just have the number one fantasy ranking mid on our hands right now.
Spicy. There you go.
Very spicy.
Two sides of the tail, the flip of the coin. I love it though. I do understand your points as well, and I still think Dynasty, as I said, if we did this list again next year after a full healthy season, we'll see where I have Sam Walsh. But for now, we'll have to leave it at that, won't we, Kerm?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll hold the receipts. We'll hold the receipts. We'll see who gets this one right. Couple players I want to mention. As I said before, I had a real like insight into the win now aspect, the high averages. I think you can tell a little bit here. That's where it's sort of to kick in with the players like Jordan Dawson at 3, Marcus Bontempelli at 2. Just in my eyes, Marcus Bontempelli is easily the best player in the AFL right now. I don't know how he didn't win a Brownlow last year, respectfully at that. Of course.
He had the highest average out of all midfielders last year. He's easily the number one player. And then if you're looking at your squad, I think you should start with Marcus Bontempelli, in my personal opinion. But it's Dynasty, 28 years old. He's not going to maintain this value for as long as some of the other players that are in my top 5, which I still put him at 2, which I think is a credit to how good he is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to talk about Tom Green. You spoke about Tom Green. You said he's the lock for a lot of people's number ones right now, which I totally get. I personally don't have him at number 1. I have him at 4.
Yeah, I did see that. I did notice that. I didn't want to talk about that, but here we are talking about that. He's just a gun, and I don't know what stops him. When you think about Tom Green, for me, I don't see any barriers in his way, with the likes of other people. I guess Marcus Bontempelli might be the safest option, but there's always that threat of him pushing forward, and that might not be the worst thing. Again, GameDay Squad, you get awarded 8 points for a goal. If he pushes forward and kicks a couple of snags while getting his 30 touches a game, then that 137 2023 average is right back on the cards. But where other players for me have barriers, Tom Green at his age has the footy world at his feet. It's that simple for me. He's going to have Cornelio in there again with him. He's going to have Josh Kelly on the outside. He's going to have... GWS are just churning out midfield talent for fun ever since they entered the league, so let's be honest. There's always going to be someone, but Tom Green, for me, I think, is someone we truly haven't seen the best of yet. And I think when we do, it's going to be scary. There's going to be fantasy records on, eyesight for him. So Tom Green, for me, is a player who you just can't go without this year. If you don't have him, you absolutely have to go get him. Because I think without him, you're risking too many points on the board. So yeah, Tom Green for me, I'm clearly super high on, just with no barriers. Even with Walsh, he's coming off a down year. Will he find that form again? There's always that question mark, but with Tom, nothing.
Well, he's in that form, well and truly. 126.6 average last year in GameDay Squad. 22 years old, as you hinted at before. 14 kicks per game average, 18 handballs, 5 tackles a game, absolute stud. Number 4 for me, which I think is maybe a little bit controversial, but again, I had that win now mentality. One thing I think in particular that we want to highlight, just out of all those averages, they all sound tasty, but similar to Walsh, we've got that kick to handball ratio. I think something very similar, as your point you said before, it's always going to be that for Tom Green. But I didn't want to use the word issue because it's not an issue. He's getting his hands on the footy.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Anytime someone gets their hands on the footy, there's nothing wrong with that as long as they're using it. You're getting the points for it. But he could turn a 126 average realistically into like 135, 140 if that kick to handball ratio was positive.
Yeah.
That's still not a concern though. Moving forward, absolute jet of a person. The keys to the GWS Giants are truly with Tommy Green right now.
Yeah.
I love your point. But mate, I want to talk about my number one.
Yes. Yeah.
Swans goggles on. Let's go.
I know you love talking about it, so I'm going to mute again and just let you cook.
Mate, last year, I think I made a point that Tom Green could be the best Dynasty asset in GameDay Squad. Upon rethinking, upon a re-evaluation, that statement was incorrect for myself because my Sydney Swan, Errol Gulden, in my eyes, is easily the best Dynasty asset that you want in GameDay Squad. And it is close, but I think he's just on his own pedestal right now. Where do I even start with him? We had a taste of his stardom in 2023. We saw Gulden. He operated predominantly in the midfield. He is more of an outside player, but with the likes of Parker, Warner, and Rowbottom just giving him pristine service, and now a ruckman who can win a tap. Think about that. Last year, Swans finished second last in hitouts per game. We just got Brodie Grundy, who, I know this isn't the ruck episode, but just can win a tap. Let's just say that. And if we can turn that around, you know what I mean, Kerm? You hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Continue.
I will. I'll keep cooking. Second highest league average last year in GameDay Squad at 21 years old. 21, 135.8 fantasy average per game. And like someone we spoke about before, I don't think it's been a long time since I've seen this, if it has a 19.3 kicking average per game.
Yeah.
Nearly 20 kicks. As you said, 4 fantasy points a game. There's your hundo.
It's tasty.
Also, there's your 80 right there. Like, mate, 80 points just off the boot alone. And at that, speaking about his boot, has one of the most beautiful left boots that you'll ever see, and that won't come to a surprise if you ever go to a Swans game. It is wonderful. He can kick a goal or two as well. He's just an absolute workhorse. He works his way around. The ground. Why is that significant? You don't get fantasy points for kilometres per game. I get it. But it's about the opportunities that he presents to himself. He's just putting himself in more opportunities to accumulate fantasy points than anyone else that I see on the ground when he plays, and he's beating everyone to the footy. So that's why I have Errol Gulden locked in at my number one spot. Massive smile on my face.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait to tell everyone about that. Maybe that doesn't come to a shock to people who watched the show last year, but I think whether you're a Swans fan or not, this guy is like top 3 cemented in my eyes for Dynasty rankings. I just have him personally at number 1.
And Tom, I think he deserves that number 1 spot. I really do. And as I spoke about with Tom Green, it's like everyone's got that something except for Tom Green in my eyes. And for Errol, it's where is he actually going to play? And I've got him ranked 2, so clearly that's not too big of an issue.
Too big of a concern, but I get it.
Yeah. It's like I've got him ranked ahead of Andrew Brayshaw, Bontempelli, Jordan Dawson, Serong, Merrett, these types of operators, and I don't even know where this guy's going to play. Like that is the level of player we're talking about. And there were so many times last year where he would enter the first quarter or finish the first quarter with, 20, 30 odd GDS fantasy points. You're thinking, oh, sweet, I haven't played Errol Gulden this week. I've got the leg up on 99% of the other competition. And then he turns out 170 with 3 quarters remaining. And you're like, what the hell just happened? Errol Gulden's just taken the game over. And it's just what he does. I'm trying to think of another player while playing AFL fantasy that has been able to score that quickly and so consistently at a higher rate. And we're talking some of the best of the best. Like, you're talking your Dane Swans, like these type of operators. And again, I come back to where the hell is he going to play? Because I can't see him playing Rock Rover centre with Luke Parker. You've got Taylor Adams there now as well, which is an interesting player. Chad Warner, I can't see exiting the midfield.
Callum Mills still at the team. Isaac Heaney, does he get a run through the middle or rotation? I get it. But I don't know if this is a concern for me because I think some of his best games, he played on the wing last year.
Yeah.
And then when he gets that license to be like, you can literally play end to end. You can go
that's
from
exactly right. What does
box to
Horse
box,
actually... What is the actual instruction to him? Because I've seen him off the halfback flank. I've seen him on the wing. I've seen him at stoppages. I've seen him in the half forward flank. It's like the whole ground is his, and there is one player in the league who has that freedom, and it's Errol Gulden, and there's no other player who really deserves it more than Errol Gulden. So again, super excited to see what Gulden does this year. I've got him ranked at 2. You've got him ranked at 1. So consensus-wise, he's the number 1 ranked player between us.
Yes.
And he deserves it. He deserves it. As you said, 136 odd 2023 GDS fantasy average last year, just behind Marcus Bontempelli. At, again, what is he, 21, 22?
21. He's the youngest player on this list at least. So I think that goes to show that when you're talking Dynasty, you truly can't look further than Errol Gulden at cracking that mark on the list. But wow, that was a bit of fun, Kerm. I really enjoyed going through that list with you. There were some really spicy takes, some great analysis in there as well. I first of all just want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to hop on the show, to come give your rankings. I always enjoy having a good yarn with you, and I know the people that are viewing and watching as well would, because this guy, as he said, 2-time now top 10 champion in GameDay Squad, has his prize cards. He knows what he's doing, so there is someone to listen to. Mr. Commode here is one to take his thoughts. So, mate, again, appreciate it. Thanks so much for hopping on, dude. Hope you had a bit of fun as well.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. I love talking midfielders. Who doesn't love, discussing their midfield selections? So, no, good luck for the season, everyone listening. And, yeah, hopefully we get some more prize cards our way.
Soon. I totally agree. And on the back of that, if you are new around here, if you're not sure what GameDay Squad is, there is a link down below in the description. It's no way it's too late to start now. You can sign up. It's free to play. 30 player cards off rip. And then, of course, we give you more player cards each week just for interacting with the platform and playing along. So you never know, your dream squad awaits. Get online now, sign up. It's a bunch of fun. I know you'll love it if you like fantasy because you're here. So obviously you like fantasy sports. Kerm, thanks so much again for hopping on. Thank you to all the viewers who came out. Smash a like if you're still here. Subscribe to the channel. This is the first of a ranking series that will be coming out. So there's plenty more. We've got some other goodies lined up as well. Cheeky draft video might be coming up with some very, very special guests.
Ooh.
But for now, I'll leave you all to it, and until next time, we'll catch you all later. Peace out, everyone.